Peace. This is Jamal Robinson with 720astrology.com. And this evening, I want to talk to you about the upcoming new moon that'll happen in just a few hours. It is 9:20 Central Standard Time, and the new moon will occur at 5:57 a.m. Central Standard Time, January 11th, 2024. Now, first thing that is significant about this new moon is that it's the first new moon of the year. So, the new moon, this is a review. We've talked about this previously in other videos, but the new moon is a time of seed planting. If you think agriculturally, it is when you sow your seeds and they're going to sink down into the earth. We're not going to see them because the moon is blacked out or it's unseen in the sky, but there are processes going on. We can't see when the mother is first impregnated. We can't see all the happenings of the sperm being accepted by the ovum, and then all of the secret magical work then going on that is going to produce this life form uh 40 weeks in the future. It's all hidden, but the work is going on because the seed has been planted. Whenever we have a new moon, it's an opportunity to seed intention. Now, this is especially important because it's the first new moon of the year. So we can look at this as an opportunity to set the stage, to set the tone. We're thinking about, what do I want to ferment and bring into existence in 2024? And this is especially important because the new moon is in Capricorn. All right. And Capricorn is in the natural zodiac. Capricorn is associated with the 10th house. And the 10th house is the house of status. It is the house of career. And I wish I could remember the astrologer that I read this from online so I could give, it was a woman, so I could give her credit. Um, but she wrote about how the 10th house is associated with career, and how the word career means chariot of the sun. That really strikes me because I'm a person who loves delving into the origin of words. And it really says a lot, explains a lot about the 10th house when you say chariot of the sun. Because whatever your career endeavors will be, is basically you bringing your sunlight. Sunlight represents, for one, the expression of your sense of self. It is the ego has now, which is a seed, the ego has now ripened into a piece of fruit. And so your sun sign is basically the fruit that you're bringing to the world. Now, when you get to the 10th house, which is the career house, which is Capricorn's natural domain, you are now talking about, what do I bring to the center stage? My career. It is also a building energy. Capricorn is associated with the bones. So we're talking about the framework of a house that sits on a sound foundation, sturdy, stable, steadfast. ST words, Saturn, Capricorn. These are things to be thinking about with this new moon. What are you looking to seed into existence in 2024 that is also based on what you have already been doing? Because this is still a Saturn ruled new moon, and Saturn is all about reward based on the quality of your efforts. So 2023, 2022, 2021 will have a lot to do with what is built in 2024. In other words, the building has already begun, but the edifice or the structure the world will see in 2024, but it will not actually be the result of what you start in 2024. Um, which is not to discourage anyone from initiating anything in 2024. We're talking about you could be initiating a project this year, but there was something that you were building the previous 3 years that led up to you even being able to launch something this year. Meaning you might have had to clear out some things. Maybe you had to end some cycles. Maybe you had to rebuild your mind. Maybe you had to endure. There was certain training you needed. Maybe you needed to go and uh, deal with debt, deal with some type of lingering something that you had to correct. If you were working on that, then that was to be the foundation to set you up for 2024 to build something that now can come to center stage that the world can see. So that's why this is a monumental new moon. And if you're feeling hopeful, sometimes when all types of crazy things are going on in the world, we can be hesitant to even be hopeful because we feel like, oh man, it's the chances of being let down. But you can't live life without some sense of hope. And that's Jupiter. Jupiter gives us some sense of hope, some sense of abundance. And Jupiter is in the picture right now because Jupiter is involved with Mars right now. But before I get into all that, let me go to the chart, the new moon chart, and pull it up. But before I do that, let me say this. I looked at my notes and I forgot something. The sun in Capricorn to me can be likened to a planet that has been retrograde and has recently stationed direct. So that planet is slow. You think about one of these 18 wheelers and you get behind them on the highway, especially if you're going up a hill and they got a gear down and they're trying to climb this hill and they're trying to build up momentum. And when they finally get over this hill and the slope changes and they're going kind of downhill, then they can start really picking up speed and rolling. Well, that's kind of like when a planet's been retrograde. It's moving slow. It's dragging. I would liken the sun being in Capricorn to a planet that has just stationed direct. Because what happens at the beginning of Capricorn season? We have the winter solstice. Solstice means sun stand still. Stis and sol, sun stand still. And that's why we really celebrate the whole Christmas thing. We're celebrating, for one, the sun overcoming its death. The sun has been buried and now it is being resurrected. In another layer of the story, the son is being born. Then we'll have another celebration at the vernal equinox. Okay. But the sun overcoming darkness is what we're celebrating because although winter begins, so to speak, arguably winter begins on Halloween, but that's another conversation. But let's just go with the way our world is programmed. We're programmed that winter begins at the winter solstice. How ironic it is that as in the northern hemisphere, we're now going into the grips of the coldest part of our year. But the sun is actually gaining strength. the sun is really going through hell from Libra, the autumnal equinox, to the winter solstice because it's losing strength the whole way. The autumnal equinox, after the days are we have equal day and night. After that, the sun is waning. It's losing strength. It's moving towards the Tropic of Capricorn. It is it is becoming weaker and weaker and weaker, and the days are getting shorter seemingly. And then after the winter solstice, which is like a planet stationing direct, the sun is starting to grind ahead slowly. The difference is that it takes typically a planet a lot less time to pick up speed, even the outer planets, than it does for the sun to kind of show signs that it's regaining strength. We kind of get glimpses of it when we move into to when it moves into Pisces. And then we get a few more little glimpses when it moves into Aries. And we're celebrating because now it has crossed the vernal equinox, the cross. It has crossed. And we're celebrating its resurrection again, the second version of the resurrection. And it's gaining strength and gaining strength. But that takes, what, 3 months for all of that to unfold. So let's be mindful that as this new moon occurs in Capricorn, we're also celebrating still the fact that the sun is like a planet moving direct, meaning it's starting to pick up speed, just like Saturn right now, which is receiving the sun because Saturn rules Capricorn. So the Saturn is in reception of the sun. Saturn right now is doing what I'm talking about. It has been retrograde. It moved direct. I don't know, back in, was it November? Yeah, early November it moved direct. And so here we are in January and it's just now getting up to 4 degrees, but it's starting to pick up now. It's starting to get some momentum going. All right. So that's something else to keep in mind and to celebrate about this time of the year, although it's cold and the earth seems bitter and contracted. And Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, is the energy of the hermit. And this time of the year makes me think about important Capricorns on my maternal side, my maternal grandmother, uh, my mother's brother, who they're both deceased now, my great great grandmother. They were all Capricorns. I wasn't fortunate enough to meet my great great grandmother, but I did spend a lot of time with my uncle and my grandmother. And one thing about them, they were born like 3, 4 days apart. My uncle was born on December 28th, and my grandmother was born on January 1st. So they both were Capricorns and they both had this ability to go into hermit mode and to quietly build things. My grandmother quietly built her credit, and she was known in the family to have that immaculate 800 plus credit and not flashy, uh, no loud clothes, uh, no fancy cars, but she was reliable. If you got into a rut, you could count on Dorothy Jean to have a credit card available to bail you out. And no, she was very much of the nature of Saturn. She stayed to herself, quiet, and she was basically a hermit. My uncle was a multi-talented man, electrician, plumber, carpenter, landscaper. He took a garage on Camden Road in Atlanta and turned that garage into a two-story house. And that's Capricorn. It's the vision to see something that you can build over time. You know, Sagittarius is known for being visionary and idealistic, but Capricorn is visionary as well. It's just that Capricorn is slow. And if that's why Capricorn is perfect to follow Sagittarius, because Sagittarius has these great ideas, but tomorrow it could be another great idea. I'm on to that one. But with the Capricornian energy following Sagittarius, it's now the building process to make the idea or the vision come into fruition, which means Capricorn makes us withdraw. It makes us pull back. It makes us go into our quiet space, and it's very determined. And although it's cardinal energy, it has a lot of fixed nature to it, Capricorn. So I'm mentioning these things because they help to give us more clarity about understanding the energy around this new moon. It is a slow and steady, wins the race type of energy starting off 2024. Now, with that said, let's go pull up this transit chart for the new moon. Okay. So real briefly, so 5:57 a.m. is the time of the new moon, and that is Central Standard Time. You can adjust for whatever time zone you're in. So as we see, we'll have the new moon at 20 degrees of Capricorn, accompanying the sun. First thing stands out. I talked about Jupiter and hope and abundance. We also associate luck with Jupiter. Well, I don't like using that word luck a lot because I don't, born with Saturn opposing my sun, luck is not a word that really resonates in my lexicon. However, I do like to use the word opportunity. And I think that when you have prepared properly, you don't have to depend on luck. Now, we all have fortunate situations that we fall into from time to time. One of my high school football coaches used to say, even the sun shines on the dog's ass every now and then. So even for the most unluckiest person in the world, everybody has some moment of some type of fortune, and that's Jupiter. Well, right now, Jupiter is at 5 degrees, or at the time of the new moon, Jupiter will be at 5 degrees. Well, it's at 5 now. 5 degrees of Taurus in a trine to Mars at 5 degrees of Capricorn. Mars, we're going to try to reduce this down to just simple keywords. Just to put associate go with Mars. All right. And that arrow, that's Mars. Forward motion, go. Mars doesn't know what reverse is. Okay. Then we have Jupiter, and I'm going to draw these lines out to represent expansion. That's Jupiter. So if we put those two together, there's a natural harmonious relationship between expansion and forward thrust. So this is opportunity energy. This is um put the pedal to the floor. Strike while the iron is hot. This is that type of energy with Mars and trine to Jupiter. The danger here is that we can easily overdo something with all of this uh inflamed fire. This is this is fire being fanned. Now, if I'm looking to initiate something, now I need some fire. I need a lot of thrust. But if I overdo it, I might blow the whole thing up before we even get going. So there's a need here for some type of groundedness, um, which we do have because both are in earth signs, which slows down the fire, and it helps that Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So Mars, with all that go energy, which can burn out quickly, is fortunate to be in its exaltation in Capricorn, which is like that older gentleman who sees this young kid with potential and he's going to mentor this kid. Like, look, young man, don't waste all your energy, such and such. That's how Mars can benefit in Capricorn. It is staying power. So that helps to mitigate any of the inflammation that can happen with Mars and Jupiter in this trine. Now, there is something here that there always got to be something. There's something here that provides some type of challenge, and it's the fact that we have Uranus in a sesqui square to Mars, meaning they are 100, and in this case they're 134 degrees roughly away from each other, and the sesqui square aspect, which is a square and a half, that's represents 90. This one represents 45, so it's a square and a half, which is a 135-degree angle. So it's going to give us some type of experience similar to a square. So it's some type of difficulty. It can be some type of clash. So you look at the characters involved, archetypes involved. It's Uranus and it's Mars. And let me put this in red just to differentiate. We're talking about these two, Mars and Uranus. They're in a sesqui quadrant or square and a half. Now we're talking about Mars, which is anything but patient, and we're talking about Uranus, which is something sudden and disruptive. So this can be something where we're feeling agitated, we may feel impatient, and then there may be sudden interruptions, things of that nature. The challenge here is to not to forfeit the game. Don't forfeit the game. Uh, Mars is moving fast. This will be a relatively quick transit. This is especially important out in traffic. Uh, careful about road rage, things of that nature. Not to let an automaton throw you off your game, and make sure that you're not behaving like the automaton, just mindlessly being caught up or grabbed by the planetary energy. Um, just as much as Uranus is creating some type of difficulty on this new moon, it also is electrifying the the sun and moon. And the sun and moon are two luminaries. Moon is an internal luminary, night sky. The sun is an external luminary, the day sky. Um, so these are the two lights, and they are in harmony. The lights are with Uranus. So here we got the sun and the moon in a trine to Uranus. And see, this is how astrology many times is super fair. You might have some challenges thrown out there. And then you got in the midst of that, you got this harmonious potential that still is there. And this is an example. This is why we don't want to forfeit the match through getting caught up, because the sun and the moon are being electrified by Uranus. Uranus can be, when it's in uh, a harmonious aspect to a planet or luminary, it can be inspirational. It can, that electric, that aha, whereas when it's in hard aspect, that sudden thing can be calamitous. When it's in harmonious aspect, that sudden thing can be a breakthrough. It can be a light bulb, zing, an idea. It can be um, this sudden pioneering move forward, where that we go against the grain, but it works. We got that type of opportunity here with the sun and moon, both in harmony with Uranus. Sudden illumination inwardly and maybe sudden illumination outwardly. Maybe the fruit is suddenly seen, the right piece of fruit. And it's like, man, I gotta have that apple, you know? So that's fortunate. Also fortunate is that, as I said earlier, Saturn is picking up speed. Saturn is in reception of the sun and the moon and Mars and Pluto, because we have a 4 planet stellium in Capricorn. They're all being received by Saturn. So Saturn is really also governing, which is a Saturn word, governing the activities in Capricorn. So it's governing the activities of Mars, the moon, the sun, and Pluto. And Saturn, thankfully, picking up speed, is in a sextile with Jupiter. Okay, here's an example I give my clients. A trine, like we have between Mars and Jupiter, like we have, excuse me, between the sun and moon and Uranus. A trine is like a trust fund baby. You know, you just happen to be born into wealth. And when you turn 21, you've got access to $100 million trust fund. Congratulations. The sextile, though, is still an fortunate, but it's not like the money is just given to you. The sextile is, you were fortunate enough to uh be given an opportunity to have this internship. And if you do what's necessary on this internship and you make a good impression, you have an opportunity to eventually be earning a 6-figure income. but you got to go in and pay your dues and do the necessary work. That's the difference between a sextile and a trine. A trine is more, it's just given, which is why some people can be lazy with trines in their chart. A lot of people have trines in areas they don't even use. And something I see too when I'm reading for people is that a lot of times it takes a square or a sesquiquadrant or an opposition, some type of hard aspect to really get a person to dig into the power of their trine, because sometimes we can't see what we really got. And you might be sitting on a pot of gold and sitting there like, oh, woe is me, I don't know what to, and you're sitting on a pot of gold because it's always been there. Sometimes because it's always been there, you can't see it and recognize it, and you need the proper hardship. See, a lot of people, now let me get on my soapbox for a minute. A lot of people are afraid to deal with pain because we don't have the ability to properly, the way our society, our psyche and our society is set up, it's pain avoidance. We give children trophies for everything. If they tie their shoes, everything's about trying to prevent pain. And my grandmother, the Capricorn, this is one of her quotes. It's good for people to struggle. Is that not a Capricornian statement? It's good for people to struggle. Because what? Struggle builds character. Struggle pulls out things in you don't know you got. And that's why sometimes a trine needs a hard aspect for it to be realized. Well, with a sextile, it's already a given. If you ain't gonna do the work, then it's just gonna be it definitely nothing's gonna come of it. So the sextile is like, hey, figure out how these complementary energies can work together. Because a trine is if you have an ensign trine or in element trine, you're gonna have planets or bodies that are working in like elements. And you can have an outer sign trine, so it's going to involve different elements. But the traditional trine, like this one here between Mars and Jupiter, it's an like element. It's Earth. So they understand we're both working from the same element. We have an agreement. Excuse me, the sextile is, hey, we have we have an agreement as well, but it's complementary. You're going to bring Earth, Jupiter, and Taurus, and I'm going to bring some water, Saturn, and Pisces. And we're going to figure out how to make some mud and build us a mud hut. We got to figure out how to use what each of us has and bring it together and build something. So Saturn receiving the sun, the moon, Pluto, Mars, is giving us the opportunity. Look, get your house in order. Get your house in order. That's the opportunity right now. Wherever you at, wherever you're involved in, don't lose sight of the top of the mountain. Don't lose sight of the peak of the roof on top of the house. That is the opportunity we have with Saturn working in harmony with Jupiter, which is in harmony with Mars. All right. So I've gone on and on and on. Those are the main things really to consider and keep in mind about this new moon. It is it is overall is beautiful energy. And I wish I could, let me find this quote from Charlie Munger. I've read this before. I got to read it again. Charlie Munger passed away towards the end of 2023. And guess what? He was a Capricorn. Here's a quote. They played an interview from him on CBS. Quote, a few rare opportunities will come. You got to learn how to recognize them when they come and not make too minor a trip to the pie counter. when the opportunity is available, end quote. That quote was for right now, for a time such as now. Don't make too minor a trip to the pie counter. Meaning pie is a treat. When we get that piece of pie, it's not the beans and the vegetable and the bread that we need. Just we need something to stick to our bones. It's like after we've gotten all the sustenance we need, the rudimentary things, this is like the extra. This is just to tantalize the taste buds. Ooh, delicious apple pie. When that moment comes, when you have an opportunity to go and get this delightful pie, don't waste the opportunity. Don't waste it. Mars is in trine with Jupiter. The moon and the sun are in trine with Uranus. Saturn is in sextile to Mars in Saturn's domain. So not only is Mars exalted in Capricorn, but Mars is in harmony with the dispositor of the house he's exalted in. In addition to that, his dispositor is in sextile to the planet, which means it's at the midpoint between the trine between Mars and Jupiter. This is a gift. Use it wisely, use it carefully, and lay the foundation that is necessary for building the house you plan to build in 2024. If you need some help navigating, I am now accepting appointments for the 2024 forecast reading. It's an investment into you. It's an investment into your future. If you want to holler at me, you can find me at 720astrology.com. All of my offerings. I'm also available through email, info@720astrology.com. Peace.